Hey, welcome to Command HQ. I'm Brock Verdeen, and I'm not prepared as usual. But I had the Elon Musk lawsuit going. I'll just leave these on for now. And I had the Dean Phillips ballot access case up here. So just go and show what I got. Okay, so we had the decision from Kathleen McCormick that prevented Elon Musk from collecting $55 billion. It's actually $55.8 billion, I believe. There were certain revenue targets, certain other financial targets in here. And what's interesting is that McCormick applied this fairness standard. And we have a video too of Vivek Ramaswamy talking about this, where he says that, applying the fairness standard when you have Richard Tornetta, who was the plaintiff here in the lawsuit, suing Elon Musk, suing Tesla, related to the pay package that was originally designed years ago for Elon Musk, assuming that these financial targets were reached. Now, without getting into intricate EBITDA targets and all the financial stuff in here, I mean, it really comes down to the fact that McCormick applied the fairness standard and said that because Elon Musk is the richest person in the world, he is not entitled to a pay package that is otherwise defined as the largest single pay package for a founder of a company and or CEO in the history of markets. And whether that's true or not, I don't know. But if you really think about it, so here, I mean, she's just insulting Elon Musk. Was the richest person in the world overpaid? The stockholder plaintiff, Tornetta, in this derivative lawsuit says so. He claims that Tesla breached their fiduciary duties by awarding Elon Musk a performance-based equity compensation plan. The plan offers Musk the opportunity to secure 12 total tranches of options, each representing 1% of Tesla's total outstanding shares as of January 21st, 2018. For a tranche to vest, Tesla's market capitalization must increase by $50 billion, and Tesla must achieve either an adjusted EBITDA target or a revenue target in 4 consecutive quarters, which were reached. With a $55.8 billion maximum value and $2.6 billion grant date fair value, the plan is the largest potential compensation opportunity ever observed in public markets, by multiple orders of magnitude, 250 times larger than the contemporaneous median peer compensation plan, and over 33 times larger than the plan's closest comparison, which was Musk's prior compensation plan. This post-trial decision enters judgment for the plaintiff, finding Richard Tornetta, finding that the compensation plan is subject to review under the entire fairness standard. The defendants bore the burden of proving that the compensation plan was unfair, and they failed to meet their burden. Okay, so if you really break this down, this 250-page decision, all you have to do is read the first paragraph. Now, the burden of fairness being applied to Elon Musk and Tesla is unfair in itself, because this leaves a huge gap, a huge opening for a plaintiff like Tornetta to come in and say the $55 billion that Elon Musk would have access to based on this schedule is unfair because the $55 billion should be kept within Tesla and it should be used for intra-company investment, so building factories or whatever within Tesla. But Elon Musk wanted this money, apparently. Of course, we have access to some emails now to further the goal to get to Mars. And this agreement was part of a prior agreement between the board and Elon Musk. So what does it say? This says that anybody can come in and say that it's unfair for a CEO or a founder to seek to invoke a previous compensation agreement with the company. And what does it say about salary and so forth? I mean, there's so many complaints about publicly traded companies, their CEOs getting massive pay packages, and you never see a court coming in and saying, well, yeah, we're going to apply the fairness standard and allow Joe Schmo, who owns 2 shares of Ford, to come in and say that the CEO of Ford is not entitled to the $23 million yearly pay package or whatever they're getting paid. I'm not sure if it's 23 or whatever it is. You never see that, do you? Because this entire decision here is collaterally used to retaliate against Elon Musk for everything he's done, not only with X or Twitter by restoring some semblance of free speech, but also some of the other anti-Biden decisions I think that he's made over the years. So, everybody knows this is clear as day. It's very, very obvious. And transition here. The other thing here is that Tornetta is probably not paying the legal fees associated with this at all. I mean, he's probably got some retainer deal going with this law firm or however they put it all together with the class. I don't know if it's a class or what. Defendants were thus left with the unenviable task of proving the fairness of the largest potential compensation plan, largest in the history of public markets. If any set of attorneys could have achieved yada yada yada, she's throwing some bones at these guys. Concept of fairness calls for a holistic analysis that takes into consideration 2 basic issues: process and price. Okay, so this is communism injected into the legal system. I mean, you could argue that literally anything is not fair. Okay, then it goes on and on and on. Given the collection of people tasked to negotiate on Tesla's behalf, it is unsurprising that there was no meaningful negotiation over any of the terms of the plan. This person testified that he did not view the negotiation as an adversarial process. He said, "We were not on different sides of things." Barone explained that he viewed the process as cooperative with Musk. Gracias admitted there was no positional negotiation. So in other words, the board was pretty much in close agreement with Elon Musk that this pay package should be invoked. And whether or not you think $55 billion is outrageous to pay a founder of a company or not. This was an agreement between the board and Elon Musk, essentially between Tesla and Elon Musk. And for that agreement not to be executed when these impossible goals were reached is questionable. Okay, yada, yada, yada. And so now there's some new information coming out from Canocchia the Great, explaining that Kathleen McCormick, the judge in this case, has ties to Democrats and substantial ties to Hunter Biden. And we can look at that as well. So let's go do that. Judge Kathleen McCormick rescinded Elon Musk's $55 billion Tesla compensation package, overturning the company's board and 80% of its shareholders. McCormick also ruled against Elon Musk during his Twitter acquisition. I'll have to pull that decision up. But I think that related to the fact that Elon Musk wanted to pull out of the Twitter deal at the last minute, remember? And Kathleen McCormick would not allow that. Before becoming head of the Delaware Chancery Court, McCormick worked at a Delaware law firm called Young Conaway. This firm and its employees have been major donors to President Joe Biden for decades. Surprise, surprise. In 2016, Hunter Biden hosted a gubernatorial campaign event for Congressman John Carney, with then Vice President Joe Biden as the guest speaker. The event took place at the law offices of Young Conaway in Wilmington, Delaware. Carney, a close friend of Joe Biden for the last 4 decades, later became governor and nominated Kathleen McCormick, a partner at Young Conaway, to her position on the Delaware Chancery Court. Wow, surprising. Incestuous. In a March 2018 email, Hunter Biden claimed to personally know every judge on the Delaware Chancery Court, while threatening legal action against his Chinese business partners. I will bring the suit in the Chancery Court in Delaware, which, as you know, is my home state, and I am privileged to have worked with and know every judge on the Chancery Court. You notice how if this is properly cited, which it probably is from Canocchia the Great, he usually does a good job with this stuff. Hunter Biden didn't properly capitalize Chancery Court because he was likely high when he was making the statement. He was probably emailing it or texting it. I guess he was emailing it. Yeah, right here, email. So, I mean, this just goes to show you that it was sort of like a contemporaneous email and that he wasn't thinking because he was probably high on crack. I mean, he went to Yale Law School, the best law school in the country, right? Like, of course he got in based on his own merit. Of course. Of course he got into Georgetown on his own merit. After Elon Musk purchased Twitter with the stated goal of restoring free speech, President Biden called for a federal investigation into Musk on the podium at the White House. Interesting. I don't recall that. Guess we'll see it right here. Following this, the Biden Department of Justice, my eyes are really bad. Securities, and I just switched screens here. This is a smaller screen over here, so. Securities and Exchange Commission and Federal Trade Commission initiated legal actions and investigations against Tesla, SpaceX, and X. This decision by Judge McCormick, who worked with Biden's top donors and was nominated by Biden's close friend to override Tesla's board and the majority of its shareholders, is another clear example of the Biden administration and its allies weaponizing the American legal system against their political opponents. Boy, I might have to do another eye exam here because he's have to zoom in here a little bit. No, that's not going to work. Well, anyways, we'll fix it later. This is Joe Biden. See if I can hear it. Can't hear anything. Why can't I hear anything? I don't know. Hold on, let me just test this really quick.
Just that one. Not bad too.
Okay, I can. The audio is working, but for whatever reason, there's no audio in that. Okay. Zoom. Okay. These are Hunter Biden emails from the Marco Polo Hunter Biden laptop site. They show emails from Hunter Biden claiming the same thing. Okay, so actually Hunter's email here is worse than Nokia the Great was trying to make it look better than it actually is. He messed up a lot here because Hunter Biden is an idiot. I mean, I'm not a grammar Nazi or anything, but this is kind of an important business email. Like, I get it if you're just sending a message to your friend or whatever and you're doing it on a phone and you're, especially for men, my thumb seems to be a little bit too big for those little iPhone keyboards. So sometimes I mash things, but this is actually really bad. But of course, Hunter Biden got into Yale Law School based on his own merit, right? Okay, so there's just a lot of emails from Young, Conaway, Stargate, and Taylor. And then you can kind of tie that to this old partner profile of Kathleen McCormick wearing glasses here. I wonder if they used the Internet Archive to retrieve this page. And then you got Joe Biden here, top 5 donors from Politico, showing Conaway, a large Delaware law firm. I love it, Nokia the Great. I love it. Okay, this is the wiki for Kathleen McCormick. And your girl looks like a staunch Democrat for sure. You know, the other thing is all these women are taking over law firms and courts and, you know, applying the fairness doctrine to these cases is, I don't know if that's like hyper feminism or what. I really don't know. But it seems to be the fact that a lot of these women are seemingly more preferential for like applying these weird fairness things to cases like this. And I don't know. I mean, I didn't have a ton of time. I looked for like 10 minutes. I didn't find any other case of this scale in Delaware where a fairness standard was applied to a compensation package. Now, again, I could be wrong. I'll do some additional research after this. But I think that in such a high profile case like this, involving Elon Musk, involving Tesla, involving the board, that if this is a precedential sort of standard or something like this, I think it would be the wrong thing to do. And moreover, it seems to evidence potentially some conflict of interest with McCormick and maybe the fact that she's tainting the case. And if so, if she received any sort of extrajudicial communication whatsoever, she had a affirmative duty to recuse herself from the case. And moreover, considering the fact that she had previously nullified the deal involving Tesla, you think that they would rotate the judges on that court. I realize this was kind of a post-trial motion. That's the way it was framed. But a lot of these post-trial motions are heard by other judges based on these very issues. So there's a lot of good comments in here. Got some, okay, Internet Archive links, and then the Biden laptop emails.com links, or where these emails reside. I know that Elon Musk said interesting as it relates to this. I actually got a push notification on my phone. I've never received a push notification on my phone at all from Elon Musk when he said that. And then I looked at it and it linked me directly to this. So I don't know if Elon Musk is messing with the back end to throw those push notifications out as it relates to this or not, but it seems to be kind of, it just happened right before I started the stream. I could see it because I had to start Twitter Spaces here, so. Kanokia the Great says, they are poking capitalism, the constitutional republic, and the rule of law. U.S. judges are criminals and belong in prison. That's hilarious, Kathy. No check balances, no accountability, same as lawyers. They destroy lives. Yes, they do, Kathy. I love it. I'm not saying all judges are this way, but it seems to be any judge that you deal with operates, and it, you know, operates on the same standard. And it never used to be this way. Remember, you would go into court and you would get a fair hearing. Moreover, these court systems weren't involved in every facet of your life, which they are now, from your speech to your family, custody, to your businesses. It's almost like this bureaucracy is burgeoning from the judicial branch. State courts, federal courts. And it's not just hitting conservatives now. I mean, Elon Musk is now kind of defined as a conservative, even though he really isn't. I mean, I view Elon Musk similar to me in that it's kind of libertarian, you know, like very socially liberal. But on the other hand, like, now this is actually touching other people who don't toe the line. William Brown says, so it's definitely from Biden Democrats. I had my suspicions, but this makes sense now. They're all in cahoots. This won't affect Elon and Tesla. They're too powerful and now have escape velocity. Well, you know, so that's exactly what I said involving President Trump's Manhattan civil fraud trial. And Agent X and I had talked about this, which is, you know, get out of New York. And now I think it's good that it almost feels like Elon Musk is listening, because he's like, I'm going to get out of Delaware and I'm going to incorporate in Texas or Nevada. And it sounds like Texas had won this sort of straw poll that Elon Musk had started on his own Twitter page. So, I mean, good for Texas. Texas deserves any of those tax receipts, given, you know, what it is potentially providing to Elon Musk, SpaceX, Tesla, and all of it. And the other thing here is, like, why do these Democrats feel entitled to coordinate with the judicial branch like this to mess with Elon Musk? I think maybe they feel entitled because the federal government has given a lot of subsidies to Tesla and SpaceX and Neuralink and just Elon Musk in general. I know that Trump had talked about that previously. So maybe that's why they feel like they can kind of manipulate the situation. Again, this is pure speculation. I have no idea, but that's just in the back of my mind. Why, if I were them, why would I feel entitled to, meddle in Elon Musk case involving his personal pay package? And yeah, I mean, it's one thing to say, hey, why are you complaining about $55 billion? But look, Elon Musk is the only major billionaire who's paying his fair share in taxes right now. You don't see Jeff Bezos paying his fair share. You don't see Larry Ellison doing that. You don't see Mark Zuckerberg doing that, do you? And Elon Musk is on the ground working at Tesla. He's in these factories. He's there with engineers. Do you ever see Mark Zuckerberg even go into the office and work with developers anymore and a team in any setting? Like, Zuckerberg is younger than me, but we're both kind of from the same era, and we have similar skills. Or I should say we used to. I've probably gained a lot more experience than him as a developer over the years, but like, let's just say theoretically, if I were working at Facebook or Meta and Mark Zuckerberg came in, I would be like, hey, Mark, why don't you work on this team with us? And, you can be a senior developer, and then you can deal with other lead developers or architects. Place him in his actual skill level, and then wait 6 months. I know that he has other responsibilities. Let him work, even though it's his own company. Let him gain his skills back up, because it would take 6 months to do that. And then he can move into other roles. That's what I would recommend for someone like Mark Zuckerberg. But you see, like, Elon Musk is actually on the ground working, trying to figure out what everyone is doing within certain companies. And I get it that there's just way too much going on. And I think Elon Musk is really at that point where things have become too distributed. SpaceX is too big. Neuralink is small, but it's big. The Boring Company, which wasn't even addressed, is a huge company. So I think Elon Musk is focusing his time on understanding what Tesla is doing, and then from a very vague, high level, understanding what's going on with SpaceX and the AI stuff, XAI, that's coming out now. I think Elon Musk probably has 5 top senior advisors who basically manage everything and they try and condense and boil everything down so that Elon Musk can make critical decisions when necessary. But yeah, it's just ridiculous what happened here. So the other thing I want to talk about is, as long as we're talking about Adobe PDFs, we have Acrobat open. We can talk about okay, we can talk about Dean Phillips. Dean Phillips filed this writ in front of the Wisconsin Supreme Court on an emergency basis right here. Timothy Burns, yada, 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 from Burns Bear. And then there's a additional Bernie Sanders lawyer, Malcolm Seymour. Seymour managed some of the Bernie Sanders ballot challenges back in the day. So Seymour is basically quarterbacking this. And then because Burns Bear are local attorneys, they're kind of on the ground filing stuff and putting stuff together, and also consulting and litigating as necessary. But Seymour is kind of the quarterback of this entire process. So those are the attorneys for Dean Phillips. And the issue presented here is whether or not the Wisconsin Presidential Preference Selection Committee and the Wisconsin Election Commission abused their discretion by refusing to place Dean Phillips on the 2024 Democratic Presidential Preference Primary ballot, despite petitioner's request, where no evidence indicates that the commission considered whether petitioner's candidacy is generally advocated or recognized in the national news media throughout the United States pursuant to this statute. So it goes in with a couple facts and talks about the fact that Dean Phillips got around 20% of the Democrat primary in New Hampshire. runner-up right behind Pedo Joe. Okay, yada yada yada. Statute primary contains a media recognition provision. So this entire writ kind of hinges on this media recognition provision and whether or not the Wisconsin Elections Commission can prevent Dean Phillips from being listed as a Democrat candidate on the primary ballot. Now, I read this once, was a little more prepared with this, and it's, the issue here, I think, is also the fact that there's some constitutional issues at play, which Seymour didn't really get into. They're just talking straight up about the actual statute and this news media recognition provision. And they could go into more constitutional issues like whether or not the Election Commission actually has a constitutional duty to review Dean Phillips as a candidate under other factors. Okay, so they're admitting that they can discriminate against candidates based on cost and time. Okay, so they're saying that Wisconsin voters or just voters in general experience confusion. Yeah, right. They can confusion when they get to polling locations, right? So they have to reduce the ballot down to 3 people because they have to be able to pay off whoever potentially is going to win, right? So they can't have a roster of 50 people running for president because they want to control who runs for president. I like how they just casually insult, normal citizens here. Such controls make sense when political parties choose to select candidates through state-run primaries using tax dollars for specific equipment and facilities. They must comply with appropriate state election rules. So this is how they expose themselves to these rules, including the media recognition provision of the statute. This petition involves an open and shut question of statutory application. The committee's failure to make an independent determination of whether petitioner's candidacy is generally advocated or recognized in the national news media throughout the United States was an abuse of discretion. And it goes into each element here. So 1 is just the recognition, and then 2 is the fact that Dean's campaign notified the Wisconsin Elections Commission. Taxpayers subsidize the primary. It'd be a true primary if it wasn't condensed down to 2 or 3 candidates, right? So it looks like Dean Phillips didn't actually gather signatures. Oh, interesting. So Dean Phillips is actually trying to bypass the petition part of getting on the primary ballot by filing this writ. Now, it's interesting. Why didn't Dean Phillips hit the ground and do a lot of petitioning and get signatures? Well, he's trying to circumvent the entire process by saying he's generally advocated or recognized. Okay, and there's a deadline here because they're printing everything February 9th. Petitioner further requests that the Wisconsin Election Commission refrain from submitting a certified list of primary candidates to county clerks until this petition can be resolved, or that the court prevents the Wisconsin Election Commission from doing so. Okay, Dean Phillips is a member of the House of Representatives for the 3rd District in Minnesota. Yada, yada, yada. Okay, the committee is not an election official. Yep. It's a state agency with general authority for administration of the primary. The Wisconsin Election Commission receives the list of candidates certified by the selection committee pursuant to the statute, and prescribes the form of ballots to be used in the primary pursuant to the statute. Prescribes the form of ballots. Interesting. The Wisconsin Election Commission has the authority and statutory duty to, quote, revise the official ballot forms to harmonize with legislation and the current official status of the political parties whenever necessary. So this is very vague. It gives them a lot of discretion to do whatever they want. And then there's a duty imposed on the election commission to transmit to each county clerk a certified list of candidates for president who have qualified to have their names appear on the ballot. And then there's a scheduling issue here with the last Tuesday in January of each year in which there's an election. So every 4 years. Okay. Got that. So they had a meeting on January 2nd, 2024, where they were officiating who is actually going to be on that list. Goes in here and talks about Trevor Maloney. There were minutes posted. Affidavit filed by Trevor. Meeting was open to the public. He is the political director of the Dean presidential campaign. The Deputy Administrator Robert Kehoe called the meeting to order. The committee proceeded through its 8-item agenda in 5 minutes. Wow, that's pretty quick, huh? Robert Lang requested that the chairs of the Republican and Democratic parties read their lists of proposed primary candidates. Republican State Chair Brian Schimming announced the Republican Party's list first, which includes 6 names. So at that time, it was probably Ron DeSantis, Nikki Haley, President Trump, maybe even Vivek Ramaswamy. Don't know, but definitely those top 3. Ben Wickler, the chairperson of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, announced the Democratic Party's list second, which included only the name of the president, Joe Biden. I say that lightly because in my mind, he's not the president, but Beto Joe. The committee engaged in no debate or discussion of the proposed list. Now, this is interesting. There was no discussion whatsoever on any challengers to Pedo Joe. The committee voted to approve both lists without any debate or discussion. Wow. So the issue really here is the fact that Dean Phillips wasn't given a hearing really to discuss. I mean, this is not hearing at all. This is unfair. And so it's definitely in violation with respect to some of the due process issues at play here. Because Dean Phillips should have been afforded a hearing. All right, so this gets into more specific details regarding whether or not Dean Phillips actually had an opportunity to discuss whether or not he was a legitimate candidate. This omission was made more glaring by the numerous requests made by petitioner and his campaign to the WisDems for petitioner's inclusion on the primary ballot. On or about December 2nd, 2023, the campaign's senior advisor, Jeff Weaver, contacted Mr. Wickler by text message to request a conversation about ballot access for the primary. Okay, so Wickler is the chairperson of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin. So this is Dean's campaign contacting the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, asking about ballot access and whether or not Dean Phillips is actually going to get a spot on it. So Wickler was slow playing Dean Phillips here. We could connect this week. Why not immediately address it? On December 6, 2023, Weaver was contacted over telephone by WisDems Executive Director Cassie Finelli. Weaver expressed to Ms. Finelli that petitioner would be appearing on the other states' primary ballots and requested that the WisDems include petitioner on the ballot for the Wisconsin primary as well. Okay, good. Ms. Finelli acknowledged the campaign's request and provided no indication that petitioner would not be included in the list of primary candidates. Okay, so there was some assurance here from Finelli. The chair of the DNC sits on the committee and participated in the meeting. Okay. Wisconsin election laws impose a non-discretionary duty on the committee to place the names of all candidates whose candidacy is generally advocated or recognized in the national news media throughout the United States on the ballot. While the statute provides that the committee shall have sole discretion to determine that a candidacy is generally advocated or recognized in the national news media, the statute nevertheless requires the committee to, at minimum, make the determination. Goes into all this bullshit. Cites this case. The committee abused its discretion by ignoring the names of persons known to have declared their candidacy. Well, so I have some disagreements about the angle in which Dean Phillips and his lawyers took here, because I think that there's some other issues, and the whole idea of condensing this primary ballot down is to discriminate against candidates. So I don't know if that's going to be a valid abuse of discretion. I don't think it would be, but I think the real issue is the fact that you look at the due process issue up here and the fact that Dean Phillips actually was not given a fair hearing. The committee abuses discretion by failing to exercise the discretion conferred upon it by statute to determine whether petitioner's candidacy is generally advocated or recognized. Wisconsin is one of a number of states that have adopted a media recognition provision for presidential ballot access using the substantially identical standard of Connecticut. The intent of the media recognition provision is to increase the opportunities to get on the ballot and reduce burdens on candidates. Okay, yep. Whose money subsidizes the Democratic Party's state-run presidential primary have the opportunity to vote for candidates they might read or hear about in the news. The statute, like other media recognition provisions, seeks to avoid the disillusionment and confusion that results when voters turn out to the polls. So they have to choose your candidates for you. Under any objective measure, petitioner satisfies the statute's media recognition standard and should have been placed on the primary ballot. The poll aggregator website 538 identifies petitioner as one of three major candidates for the 2024 Democrat primary, alongside Pedo Joe and Marianne Williamson. Okay, so Dean is trying to say, well, I've got so much traction in the lamestream media and on social media. I have millions of views, 2.5 million engagements. Comparing Connecticut and Massachusetts, in explaining that both those states have a similar statute requiring that candidates, if they're legitimate contenders in the national news media, the lamestream media, which shouldn't even be called national media anymore. See, this is where this kind of standard gets all clunky because, the media has been destroyed. So, you're kind of anchoring to something that's already dying, but that's totally beside the point here. New Hampshire became the first state in the nation to hold a Democratic primary. Current results indicate that Pedo Joe received 60%. Those are all fraudulent. As a write-in candidate, yeah, right. He didn't even show up. One of the core purposes of the media recognition provision in the statute is to ensure that Wisconsin voters have the opportunity to vote for candidates like petitioner. The other is to reduce ballot access hurdles for candidates like petitioner who objectively enjoy a minimum degree of public support. Don't know what that means. Obviating the costly petition process that otherwise winnows frivolous candidates from contention. Oh, frivolous candidates. There probably are a lot of ridiculous candidates out there. But, at the same time, I think that, trying to condense your list down to one or two people is also pretty outrageous. Anything less than 30, I think, is probably in the scope or in the range of being reasonable. Petitioner's candidacy speaks for itself. He is a leading challenger to Pedo Joe in the primary, and Wisconsin voters who are funding the primary deserve to see him on the ballot. Cause of action. So in this writ, they're sort of now outlining what kind of relief they want and why they need that relief, and why the selection committee abused its discretion by failing to consider whether petitioner should be placed on the primary ballot under the statute's media recognition provision, despite committee members' general knowledge that he had declared his candidacy and the DNC's specific knowledge that petitioner had requested access. So Dean wants injunctive and declaratory relief from the Wisconsin Supreme Court to say that the committee abused its discretion by failing to consider whether petitioner should be placed on the ballot on the grounds that petitioner's candidacy is generally advocated or recognized in the mainstream news media throughout the United States. Again, this is a ridiculous standard here, this national news media bullshit. Direct the Wisconsin Election Commission not to transmit to each county clerk a certified list of candidates for president who have qualified to have their names appear on the ballot pursuant to the statute. Because time does not permit remand to the committee to exercise its discretion and determine whether petitioner is entitled to ballot placement under the foregoing standard, issue a writ of mandamus directing the Elections Commission to transmit to each county clerk a certified list of candidates for president who have qualified to have their names appear on the ballot that includes petitioner. Because time does not permit. In the event this petition cannot be decided or an injunction issued before the Election Commission has transmitted the list, directing the commission to amend the list. Okay, so they want their names on the list that's actually transmitted to each county clerk. Got it. So they're asking for an injunction against the Election Commission and the Presidential Selection Committee, and giving kind of this obligatory deadline because printing happens around February 9th, 2024. Now, I think there's an original jurisdiction issue here with some of these writs, and I looked at how they were dismissed previously for some of these election challenges, and I think there was a Trump-Biden one in 2020, and it was dismissed on the grounds that it wasn't timely. And so they obfuscated taking jurisdiction over the writ. And so the court here is probably looking for ways to get rid of this. But at the same time, since it is Dean Phillips and you're dealing with Pedo Joe, they potentially are also looking at ways to accept this petition. So they're probably going to provide some relief. It's just a matter of where they're actually going to cut that relief. But again, I think that after, I zoomed through this the first time, but I didn't catch until reading this on stream. And I'm glad that I did read it on stream because I'm forced to actually read through each paragraph. That the real issue here is a constitutional issue as it applies to the fairness of this hearing. So you look at sort of how different sort of fairness standards or doctrines are applied in different contexts. You look at Elon Musk, for example, and he is totally fucked over by Tornetta and his communist fairness doctrine applied to compensation package. And then you look here at a situation where Dean Phillips actually was not given any sort of fair hearing whatsoever. And this is a denial of due process. So I think that should have potentially been at least argued minimally in this writ, but it wasn't. And I realized probably why they didn't. They want to just keep it clean and straightforward. But I think Malcolm Seymour was quarterbacking this and trying to keep it very fact-based. For the foregoing reasons, petitioner respectfully requests that the court take original jurisdiction and grant the emergency petition and issue an injunction. This was filed on January 26th. And then there was a bunch of coverage of it, actually. I think the Washington Post publicized it and gave, I think, until Wednesday at midnight to file third-party letters or amicus briefs. Okay, enough with this. Let's go on and let's talk about all these other tweets we have here. So we went over the Pinocchio one. So we have your boy, James O'Keefe, who I really like how he put everything up front here. And unfortunately, for whatever reason, I can't hear this. So I wonder if I refresh it, if I can hear it. There we go.
Two federal agencies, the State Department and USAID.
So when you say it's like security, like you're protecting
the networks of the federal agencies. You give all your information.
There is a cybersecurity policy analyst.
Yes.
Information.
And we are like
that
the president.
Met James O'Keefe on James O'Keefe's fake gay profile on Tinder or something. I don't know, it gets pretty strange. And then he posted all the screenshots of his dating profiles, his LinkedIn, I think even an Instagram in here at some point. But okay, so this is actually just a retweet from the real Fly.
Voice when we go into meetings in terms of discussing and promoting the president.
This is it's just very bizarre and strange. He's trying to impress James O'Keefe apparently in some sort of romantic dating context where James O'Keefe put up some fake gay profile and then at some point took his glasses off and confronted Charlie Krager about the fact that he is unlawfully disclosing information to a third party, in this case James O'Keefe, information that presumably is confidential directly from the White House.
Is he going to be the nominee?
Yes. And she will be the vice president nominee.
Yeah, I don't.
And there's some complaints here
from the ticket, but
about Kamala Harris and her competency, as well as the fact that people are inside the administration are admitting that Pedo Joe has a dementia issue.
Sadly, they did. She can't keep black staff. They quit on her in mass.
But with him, I mean,
I know.
He's got dementia.
Yeah, well, he's definitely slowing
down.
Do they know that he has the
So he said, Pedo Joe is definitely slowing down.
Going to say it.
Shows it. And,
they're not going to say it.
And that they have internally admitted that the polling shows it.
Kamala Harris says she's not popular, but you can't remove the first black lady to be vice president from the goddamn presidential ticket. Like, what kind of message are you going to send to, like, the African-American voter? How would you spin that? People would be like, what the fuck? Like, Like, she's a woman and she's multiracial. I think that they're really concerned about this.
But they won't say it. Well, I guess if they say it publicly,
Correct.
that
They can't
Biden
say it
is
publicly.
no.
No.
They can't say it
No,
publicly.
no, they got to
Do
toe
they
the
say it
line.
privately? But they won't say it publicly.
Correct.
That
They can't
Biden
say it
is,
publicly.
is
And they won't say
They
it publicly.
can't say it
No,
publicly.
no, they got to
Do
toe
they
the
say it
line.
privately? I mean,
I'm just telling you what I've heard. Like,
just-
yep.
You're just telling me the truth.
Does it make sense? No, but
I mean-
that's what I've heard.
And-
I've had a meeting with Michelle Obama at one point when I was an intern, and someone asked her, "Will you ever run for office?" And she said no, emphatically. No.
Really?
I've seen all the shit my husband has had to go through, and that does not interest me.
So this is
People will be
okay.
like, "Well, I don't think we should have to get the vaccine." And I'm like, fuck you. It's like, you're not going to get the vaccine, and then you're going to go expose my family
Exactly.
in the hospital
Exactly.
to your vaccinated COVID.
And you can
So you work
get the gist here that he's pro-vaccine.
in cybersecurity for the White House.
Yeah.
And
You're right, Ronan,
question is,
about my blindness.
what do you
It's
do?
exactly where it stems from.
on a meeting with James O'Keefe, what type of cybersecurity operation are you guys running over there?
What kind of cybersecurity operation you running over there, bro? Now this is kind of like, this is where it gets like really, really weird and cringe. I was cringing watching this entire segment on so many different levels, but I mean, you feel bad for him.
Good cybersecurity operation.
Well, obviously not.
But I mean, this is the same guy who wants to, vaccinate you, vaccinate your children. He's leaking confidential information that he shouldn't be doing.
If they say it publicly,
Correct.
that Biden
Can't say it
is
But what is this clown show you guys running over at the White House?
And
Videos like these will be-
James O'Keefe, it is a little bit arrogant for him to say this, but at the same time, he should be recognizable to these people, especially his voice, right?
Brought to you in part by support with funding from the Citizen Journalism
But
Foundation.
hey,
Now you can make a
James
tax-deductible
O'Keefe,
donation to
after he
support
left Project
Citizen Journalism
Veritas, he seemed like he was kind of
Foundation's
slowing down at
independent
Veritas, and
Please
he,
go to
whatever happened with him kind of starting his own little
Charlie Craig,
OMG
cybersecurity policy
media group,
analyst
whatever that
and
means.
Foreign Affairs desk
he has just
officer
been
in the
hitting it
executive
lately. I mean,
office
he's
of
been
the
doing a
White
really, really
House.
good job.
He manages
And
2 federal agencies, and for the last 4 years,
so
he
here's
worked
it's
at the
just
State
but there's a lot of
Department.
misinformation
He works on
here because Krager doesn't manage 2 federal agencies. All he did was manage like terms of service for certain privacy data for the State Department and for certain groups within the State Department, not the entire State Department, and for USAID. And even if Krager was positioned at the White House, I don't know, maybe he was in the executive office building. Maybe he wasn't technically at the White House, and he was just managing, security policy. He wasn't really doing anything incredibly important, but he did have access to a lot of very important information. So this is a lot of misinformation, I think, from James O'Keefe. He didn't really do a good job of explaining that, and he is misstating a lot of things here. Now, I get it. He's very busy, just like me. Like, for example, reading these petitions, these pleadings and stuff. Sometimes I miss things. I don't go over it. I don't have a lot of time because I'm doing a lot of other things professionally. But I think James O'Keefe could have done a better job here in explaining exactly what Krager does.
President's priorities, executive orders, is a high-up official and cybersecurity subject matter expert. I met with him undercover on Sunday, January the 21st.
This is not undercover.
My hair dyed, wearing fake
Dyed
eyeglasses.
his hair.
Not only did he not recognize me, he sang like a bird. His social media, which was scrubbed
got the
after my initial
Instagram.
meeting with him, says he likes long walks on the beach and diplomatic negotiations.
Are you familiar with the Kennedy School at all?
Harvard?
Oh God, this is cringe.
What about it?
Yes, I'm in the executive education program there at the Kennedy
Really?
School. So I
Red
got a job
flag
at the
right
State
there.
Department.
The State
It's like
Department.
I essentially started at Georgetown and I applied at State. And I went
Oh
to
my
Georgetown
God.
for my master's, where I studied when I joined the
Cringe, 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 cringe.
Security Studies program in the School of Foreign Service. So when I was
Okay,
there,
I can't watch this. This is just too much. Right here, we can just zoom to the end.
I think that
So-
they're really concerned about this.
But they won't say it. Well, I guess if they
So-
say it,
Who is they, and why are they concerned about Biden? Is that Barack Obama? Is that Michelle Obama? Big Mike? Who is it?
publicly,
Correct.
that
They
Biden
can't say it
is,
publicly.
is
No.
they can't say it
No,
publicly.
no, they got
Do
to
they
toe
say
the
it
line.
privately?
They got to toe the line.
So they know it.
They know it. Of course they do. But
Yeah.
it's the optics and like the scandal. I think they feel wouldn't be worth it.
I mean,
I'm just
you're
telling you
just-
what I've heard.
you're
Like,
just-
yep.
You're just telling me the truth.
Does it make sense? No, but
I mean-
that's what I've heard.
Charlie Krager says he's just telling us what he's heard in the executive office of the White House.
So-
I've had a meeting with Michelle Obama at one point when I was an intern, and someone asked her, "Will you ever
Why
run
is
for office?"
Michelle Obama surrounding herself with a bunch of gay interns? It seems like a lot of these low-level staffers think they're more important than they are, and they're oftentimes homosexuals. Why is that?
She said no, emphatically.
Really?
She
Is
said, "I
that
will
is
never
that
run for office.
because
It doesn't
Barack Obama is gay?
interest me. I've seen how, like, she said it a lot more eloquently, of course, than I'm going to say it, but she was like, I've seen all the shit my husband has had to go through, and that does not interest me.
I asked Charlie Krager, who works in the executive office of the White House,
You know what
how
that
is it
means? That
a
means that Big
security
Mike is
official
definitely
in
running.
the White House doesn't know he's on a meeting with James O'Keefe and would divulge such
Okay, so this is a little
secret information.
grandiose narcissism here from James
You
O'Keefe.
work in cybersecurity for the White House, and my question is,
People from the Midwest don't do this.
on a meeting
They don't think of
with
themselves
James
as very
O'Keefe,
important.
and how do you think it looks to the
At
American
least I
people
don't.
that working in the Office of Cybersecurity, you're sitting across the table with James O'Keefe, founder of Project Veritas?
But, you know,
yeah,
in
we do undercover investigations.
James
into people.
O'Keefe's defense, I mean, he is pretty recognizable, especially his voice.
But the
For example, if I was with him, I would recognize him pretty immediately.
Sitting across from the founder of Project Veritas. What type of cybersecurity operation are you guys running over there?
Yeah, really. I mean, that's a good question.
Well, obviously not, because you're meeting with me. Did you not do your research? Or what is this clown show you guys running over at the White House?
Tune in tomorrow
Now,
for the full reaction.
This is where I feel
Charlie
really
Krager,
bad for him.
when I reveal who
I mean, because
am.
this is like his career is
What we have
over.
learned in OMG's undercover investigations into DC,
You know,
so
kind of
far
like
is that we
mine.
have
My
more
career is pretty
problems in this
much
country than the
been
White House
over for many,
is
many
willing to
years.
admit.
Occasionally
Our
it gets
high-ranking source,
resuscitated,
Charlie Krager,
but
told
then
us
it gets
exactly
destroyed
what he's
again.
seen and heard that only a rare few have
Ultimately,
access to.
you know,
with-
he could easily get prosecuted for this, honestly. I mean, leaking information like this.
The vice president who causes hemorrhages within black staff, a president who has not yet been assessed for dementia, but people continue to talk about his ability to lead behind closed doors.
But,
and
I mean, I think this does go to the fact that a lot of staffers in the White House, whether or not they're close or not within that orbit, have the same, you know, concern and disturbance. I'm going to rephrase that. Have the same concern over Pedo Joe's dementia.
and apparently Michelle Obama, who is not coming to the rescue,
Big Mike.
according to Charlie Krager. We are going to be keeping a watchful eye during the election season and would like for you to step forward.
All right, so we got some other stuff here. This is the French police. Now I have to unmute all these tabs, damn it. The French police actually raiding and arresting the farmers that have been protesting. Not good. Not a good look here. Not a good look. Mike Lindell, Other Trump allies back effort to recall Wisconsin Assembly Speaker from office. Tweet from Laura Loomer. Did you know that the FBI has found that Ilhan Omar's district is the #1 recruitment location in the entire United States for ISIS terrorists? Even with this being the case, she was able to serve on the Foreign Affairs Committee in Congress for several years. Deport Ilhan Omar. Tucker releases a Biden pic from Epstein Island. Now, here's a weird photo. I have no idea if this is Joe Biden. I have no idea what it is. There is a community note on it saying that this photo is not on Tucker Carlson's social media accounts or his website. I don't know if this is some other person who looks like Joe Biden or if this is from Hunter Biden's laptop, but interesting. Okay, here's a Somalian in Minnesota talking about taking over the entire state. And in the tweet, he says, "There is power with numbers, breed like rats, and establish global dominance. Inshallah, the 21st century will see the great rise of Islam. Glory be to Allah. My message to Europeans that think they are Americans, go back to your country. This land is Somalia now. Soon Minnesota will be the first state to make Somali the official language. Unakallah." All right, well, Joe Biden has replaced John Kerry with John Podesta to be the new U.S. climate diplomat. Podesta, famous for Pizzagate emails, disturbing art purchases, spirit cooking, and much more nefarious activity. This is disturbing news. Thoughts? We want answers. Picture of John Podesta in some weird paint. I see a very confident woman that makes less confident people jealous and nervous. What do you see? This is a New York Post article showing the illegal immigrant who tragically killed 3 people in Minnesota. That wasn't reported locally, but it was reported in the New York Post. I guess he was an ex-UPS worker. Okay, this is a well-documented video. You can play it on mute.
And also acknowledged things such as myocarditis rising 151%. So what I did, I went in today.
In the Navy.
I'm doing the same thing, 5-year average.
Increasing.
However, I'm comparing it to 2022, and I only am using fixed-wing pilots and helicopter pilots, active duty. So we get hypertensive disease, 36%, ischemic heart disease, 69%, pulmonary heart disease, 62%, heart failure, 973%, other forms of heart disease, 63%. Cardiomyopathy, 152%. So in July, Undersecretary Cisneros acknowledged.
Heart failure in Navy pilots up 973%. These stats do not include all the other diseases and cancers we are seeing, yet the silence continues. This is a flyer, I think from a church actually, where they're trying to welcome illegal immigrants, and they call them welcomers. Participate in a life-changing act of service. Welcomers ensure newcomers have the support and information they need to be successful in rebuilding their lives in the United States. Oh, okay, so a couple of residents in Minneapolis received this flyer on their front door. The invasion is here, and it is coming. Just read a couple of the comments here. This NGO gets $50 million a year from the US government. We are funding it. This person says, it would be interesting to volunteer just so you could see how many ways they teach illegals to scam our system for, quote, support. The number one most read item on the entire Star Tribune news website as of 5 p.m. Central Time. And it's open for comments. Wow. 201 so far. Oof. Oof is... So Bill Glahn is from Virginia, I think. I could be wrong about that, but he says oof. It's a Scandinavian term for oofda. Like, oofda. Oh, yeah, oofda. Oh my God. So most of these articles have paywalls on them in the Star Tribune, the Star and Sickle, which I call it in complaints to federal courts when I took down the city pages. They had this companion publication called the City Pages that they had purchased. I ceased their publication as of October 2021. 2020. Years start to glom onto one another. Oh wow, so this, yeah, we can read the whole article. It's not blocked with a paywall, and there's comments here. There's 391 that you can actually read. Like I've mentioned previously, they screen all these comments. I mean, they just censor everything. You can't actually say anything without them trying to remove any sense of truth. And I think there's just a bunch of millennial women actually reviewing these comments. That's crazy. And they pay them like $20 an hour. You don't even need to pay them. Just let the comments flow. It's called free speech. So this is usually, because of the way that they screen the comments, it's usually totally hyper sort of feminist, hyper liberal comments. So I'm kind of curious if they're not screening the comments in this particular article. Yeah, you're still getting it. The racist hysteria directed at Rep. Omar is disgusting. Trump and Republicans like to make horrible statements about her that result in threats of violence. Oh yeah, Gene. Sure thing. So it's just, they always resort to this. And it's false, you know. You can't control other people's behavior. Just blaming Republicans. Blaming conservatives. Okay, enough of this. Breaking. A mass casualty incident has been declared after a hangar building that was under construction has, bad grammar, collapsed, resulting in multiple fatalities. Currently, a significant emergency response is underway as multiple authorities, along with emergency crews, respond to a major accident at Boise Airport in Boise, Idaho. Reports of a crane reportedly collapsed onto an under-constructed hangar building, causing it also to collapse. Emergency officials have declared a mass casualty incident, with reports of 9 people critically injured and reports of 3 deaths reported at this time. Law enforcement are urging everyone to avoid the area as the situation continues to develop. Unmute the tab. Play it again. I'm drooling. Wow. The entire hangar collapsed. That's badass right there. Well, tragic that people died. You wonder why it collapsed. many cops they really need. It's not like they're gonna restore the building. I guess they're trying to find people. Well, that construction company is gonna get sued out of business. Wonder if there's any interesting comments in here. Yeah, just prayers for the family. People are blaming it on DEI. Grant Cardone says, why do I need a passport to come into a country I've lived in for 65 years when people who have never lived here don't? Well, thank you, Grant, for telling us how old you are. You are 65. Good for you, Grant. Welcome to America. It's a great movie. I think that's the name of the movie with Eddie Murphy, where he's a prince from Africa. It reminds me of whenever I'm walking around in different countries. I feel like a prince. Prince of Bel-Air. Newark Airport, New Jersey. Non-U.S. citizens. Right water. Document validation using CBP1 technology. It's a TSA sign. Jeez. Those are making me a little, I take, ashwagandha root. And, I guess if you make it like that, it makes you a little bit, your voice a little dry. It's a supplement. It's supposed to be good for a number of medical issues. Anyways, I've been taking it for like a year and I really like it. Non-U.S. citizens document validation using CBP1 technology. Oh man. Hold on. This is bad. I gotta remind myself never to do that again. Okay, so if you're an illegal immigrant, you're coming into the United States, you need to notify the TSA officer that you are a migrant. And they will zoom you through. Welcome to America. You guys probably don't want to hear me swallow like I am. Let me move this a little bit. World is upside down for sure. Kevin Sorbo, your boy from Minnesota, deport Ilhan Omar. Everybody is saying deport Ilhan. Oh, I put this video up on my judicial protest account. You guys can go and see it. About Ilhan Omar and Carla Kjellberg, her former divorce attorney. And Kjellberg took a bunch of money from her campaign. It was a violation of campaign finance law. She was never prosecuted, even though there were proper complaints filed against her. And of course, she was never prosecuted. She married her brother. That was the whole divorce from her brother. She had to hire a divorce attorney. I mean, it just gets ridiculous. I think Ilhan Omar came out and said that, you know, white men are racist today and stuff. If you look at her Twitter feed and all the replies, 98% people disapprove of her. I don't even know how she got elected. I'm sure that there was some rigging going on there. There's no other way. I mean, she had to get elected because all the Somalians in Minneapolis voted for her and wanted her to win the election. Tweet from Alex Jones. We got a video here. Let me unmute. This is a drone. Randall's Island Migrant Camp. Why are they trying to keep all these camps secret? It's almost like, you know, they want to like erect them quickly, process the illegal immigrants, but then they want to probably use them at some later time as some FEMA camp to basically, you know, imprison citizens. That's what I would imagine if you were really thinking about how it's layered. Like, what is the next thing here? They're probably just going to start saying, if you criticize the government, you're going to the FEMA camp. Oh, you criticize the cops? You're going to the FEMA camp. Oh, you criticize the judicial system or persecuting President Trump? You're going to the camp. Okay. Y'all know it's true. Billionaire surrounded by beautiful women. This is President Trump. And then the text on the bottom says his entire life with 0 sex assault claims until he ran against Hillary. Very, very true. Very, 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 very true. Where is... Okay. That... Apparently, you don't know how many out-of-court settlement payments he made with non-disclosure agreements, which are contained in his tax returns. That's why he wouldn't release them. He tried doing the same thing to that Playboy chick. Trump has been accused of sexual misconduct by at least 26 women since the 70s. He cheated on his wives. He called his daughter... Oh my God. I can't even say that. That's just horrible that he would put that. Yeah, these guys are just misinformed. I'm sure these are the same guys who probably are, you know, cocked by their wives or whatever. And moreover than just that, I think that they probably have a bunch of sexual misconduct claims against them by like their pimp or something. You know, the gay men that they're dating. Oh my God. The best thing to do at this point is buy a gun, mind your business, and protect your family. Our country is no longer a safe place. This is a meme. That's the text on the meme. Simple, black and white. I'm against weapons, but fully in support of the Second Amendment. Another meme. What are 4 greatest threats to America? Socialism, liberalism, the Democratic Party, and the idiots who support these things. Pretty much. Okay, here's another retweet of the James O'Keefe stuff. This is from Ashley St. Clair. Pro tip. If you are a gay man who works for the White House, plus your date just can't hear enough about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, you are being James O'Keefe'd. Now, here's what's really actually very brilliant and struck me about James O'Keefe. Like, I didn't, you know, he's younger than me. I've seen a lot of his work. So, I mean, I get it. You got to gain experience as a journalist. You know, like, I compare that to Alex Jones. You know, Alex Jones wasn't the Alex Jones of today without practice. And I remember Alex Jones back in the 90s, even 99, 2000. And, you know, he wasn't obviously as good as he is now. And Alex Jones is in his prime. So, yeah, but James O'Keefe has definitely increased his skill in the last 4 years. And I think the thing that struck me as being really brilliant is kind of going, when he says undercover, he's putting up these gay profiles, and he's actually getting more information by doing that than by basically doing anything else. For some reason, these gay men trust each other, and then they assume that the other person that they're potentially going on a date here with is also trustworthy, and they just, give information. He did that with the other staffer, the black guy. So, yeah, it's a good way to do these undercover ops. It always amazes me how willing these suckers are to talk. You work for the White House cyber team and are just spilling it all. And cheap vault too, just dinner and drinks. Wow, she's really shading that guy. Krager. Probability 0 MAGA Patriot. I'm old enough to remember when it wasn't extremism to support our Constitution or attend church. It wasn't xenophobic to demand a secure border. It wasn't wrong to expect personal responsibility. We weren't considered domestic terrorists for waving our flag or supporting our Second Amendment freedoms. Political differences were addressed with respect rather than indictment upon their opponents. Justice was blind, not a political weapon, but a promise of societal security. The public school system honored the responsibility of educating our newest generations rather than indoctrinating them. Racism and bigotry was on the decline, not on the rise. Our government didn't threaten war upon its own citizens. That's a good one. Yeah, I feel like I'm constantly at war. And we did not fund our adversaries and enemies to attack our own sovereign territory. Excellent, Terry Slater says. Liberty for all. The climate czar gig is one of the most lucrative in the government. They get to go take bribes and solicit favors all over the world. Biden is nominating John Podesta to replace John Kerry. He's already been practicing. John Podesta, quote, "We have to cut the carbon pollution that's driving the climate crisis, and that's what the Inflation Reduction Act is all about."
Pollution that's driving the climate crisis, and that's what the Inflation Reduction Act is all about. We have to cut the carbon pollution that's driving the climate crisis, and that's what the Inflation Reduction Act is all about.
Reduce inflation.
We have to cut the carbon pollution that's driving the climate crisis, and
by increasing the money supply so that inflation becomes rampant. Marco Polo, 501c3. We would like to supplement the record with an ad at Kate Daly. The text, Joe dementia between Hunter Biden and Keith below, occurred on January 2nd, 2019 and February 6, 2019, respectively. Not late 2018. The report is correct. The line from the interview was off a few days. Regardless, all of it is just incredible. They know Joe is gone. Okay, so this is from 2019, 4 or 5 years ago. And the acknowledgement of the dementia is somewhere hidden in here. I can't find it because I'm lazy, but it's tweeted out. And the quote is, "Does he recall details, though, with the dementia and all here?" That's from Hunter Biden. Why wasn't this information given to us prior to the election in 2020?
18. So it's
More
now.
importantly, why is his wife abusing him and forcing him to run for office when he clearly was not competent enough to do so if he had this dementia diagnosis?
See, and here, getting back to the laptop, Kate, we have two messages from Hunter Biden in late 2018.
I think I remember
showing
this
that
interview.
he knows his dad has dementia. He admits it in 2018. So it's now 4.5 years later, because he said these things in late 2018. He probably has rapidly advancing Lewy body dementia, and you can see that in his gait. When Joe walks, his arms don't move like a normal person's. And then when he's done speaking, which is a great mental task for him, he forgets where he's supposed to go once he's on the stage. And here, getting back to the laptop, Kate, we have two messages.
True. I mean, Kate Daly does a fantastic job pulling out all these details. Rob Schneider, now do you get it? Moderna is upset with Megyn Kelly for publicly disclosing her vaccine injuries caused by her COVID booster, her third shot. Moderna worries that Megyn Kelly discussing her autoimmune disorder triggered by the COVID vaccine would add to the public fear of autoimmune disorders.
This would add to the growing concern. Has revealed that Moderna was very, very upset, among other things, about the fact that I said on this show that after I had gotten my third COVID shot, my booster, which you needed in order to operate in New York to do anything, I developed a positive on an autoimmune test that my general practitioner gave me. And then I had to go to a rheumatologist and all this stuff. I revealed it on the show. And I got targeted by Moderna, who was very worried that this would add to the growing concern around autoimmune disorders following COVID-19 vaccinations. They're admitting internally that it's a problem, but they're upset that I am talking about it, and Alex Berenson and Russell Brand and Michael Schellenberger and Dr. Jay Bhattacharya are talking about it, Glenn, because they don't want it discussed. And the mainstream media outlets were only too happy to comply.
So they targeted Megyn Kelly. Now, they targeted me 10 years ago. And what they did to me, I mean, maybe I was a test case, I don't know. But they shut me down. They inflicted torture on me. They continue to maintain that torture to this day. And they target me for all kinds of activities. And now that this has happened to so many different people like Megyn Kelly, I'm not saying Moderna targeted me. I'm saying that I can't even get into it because I'm still gagged. And I am gagged for 150 years. Can you believe that? I'm gagged for 150 years in various courts. Multiple courts, multiple layers. Stuff that people don't even know about, that I can't even talk about, because that would be potentially a violation of the order. It's all sealed. It's all secret. They won't let me give any details. That's fine, whatever. I'm not happy that Megyn Kelly was subject to this terrorism, but I am also happy that she, that more people are seeing this, that it's not just me being targeted by this terrorism in different ways. She's not subject to the same kind of stuff that I am, but it's still similar in that she's being targeted and she's being silenced. Wall Street Silver. Texas needs to keep sending more buses to New York City. The only way to force change is to make NYC feel the consequences of their voting and their policies as a sanctuary city. Send 100,000 more fake refugees.
And he was telling me how crazy it is, and that they have direct orders that they can't even really arrest them unless it's a serious crime. Isn't that fucking sick? Your NYPD and your boss is telling you, listen, don't make us look bad. Don't arrest any of them. I mean, isn't that fucking sick? Meanwhile, you got citizens who live here and they jaywalk and the cops are like, take that piece of shit in, let's go. $3,000 fine. I mean, it's wild.
Oh, yeah.
So basically, in the tents right now, there's one.
I mean, why even work? Why even go to university when the government will just come and take everything from you anyways? And if they don't take everything then and there, I mean, you have to basically give up any reserves you have to pay for lawyers. So it's pure communism. I mean, like, why even work, right? 'Cause it's all going to get taken anyways. You know, you'll be jailed for jaywalking. You'll be thrown in jail if you criticize the government. And then these legal immigrants, or whoever they are, Ilhan Omar, Sofia Vuelo, she's an illegal immigrant, come in here and they get all kinds of subsidies. They don't have to pay for anything. I mean, if you're a woman, you don't really have to pay for anything. You get free lawyers. You get free housing. You never get prosecuted, so you're basically immune from prosecution. You have judicial or prosecutorial immunity just by default, by the nature of your gender or your illegal immigrant status.
Specific story that stands out a little bit. Last week, this man from Venezuela was waiting on the food line to get...
Maybe that's the intention, is to block men from being productive so that society just kind of comes to a halt over time.
Their food, and he tried to, like, you know, hook up with some girl who belonged to a Peruvian guy. The Peruvian guy got mad that, you know, he was trying to mack it to his girl, and then he stabbed him in the fucking neck. That was it.
Oh my
He's
God.
Dead. Goodbye. And that's just, like, you know, the tip of the iceberg. What do you think?
Oh,
It's
yeah.
not going to continue?
I mean, that's
it's
just
going to get worse.
That's just
Jeez. I mean,
New York City,
the
right?
stories he told me, you guys would die.
Joe Biden's America in one photograph. Our national humiliation is endless. Now, this is a photo, I think, of this illegal immigrant who apparently punched a New York City cop when he was trying to arrest him. Oh, he was released without bail. Makes your blood boil. John Podesta's infamous Wet Works email. Supreme Court Justice Antonin Scalia was found dead a few days later. Wet Works is a euphemism for murder or assassination. Here's the email. Let's see if I can zoom out a little bit. And it says, I am all in. Sounds like it will be a bad night. You all need to buckle up and double down. Then there's another piece of the email. We're trying to get it on the screen. Of course we can't because it's fucking Twitter. Didn't think Wet Works meant pool parties at the vineyard. What the hell? What the hell does that mean, John Podesta? Anva Roberts, fully vaccinated, dies suddenly in the Bahamas. Young Bimini woman collapses and dies following her morning run. BP breaking now. Bahamas press is reporting the sudden passing of Miss Anva Roberts. She was found dead at her home on Bimini following her morning run today. She was a health guru, and her sudden passing has left the Benini community in shock. Far too young. Beautiful woman. Sad and tragic. Go to vets. Hotels across America are closing their doors to American citizens to house and feed illegals. Meanwhile, we have record numbers of homeless veterans and countless more at risk for going homeless because their basic bills are more than their budget due to inflation. Hotel closed to public. Pure discrimination against American citizens. You should be able to go in and use a hotel if you want. Douglas McGregor. If we bomb Tehran, America will pay a heavy price. America will pay a heavy price, I think he means. The Iranians have an enormous arsenal with precision capabilities. Meme top says, Cory Booker, could you define an assault weapon? And in the bottom, it's the director of the ATF, and he says, I'm not a firearms expert. He's the director of the ATF, though, so he technically is. Died suddenly, January 22nd, 2024. A man collapses and dies suddenly while washing his car. Typical, totally normal, totally routine. Happens all the time. Colin Rugg says, new. Migrants discovered in a hidden room at the Atlanta Hartsfield-Jackson International Airport, guarded by a U.S. service member. The footage was taken by Republican State Senator Colton Moore, who received a tip that migrants were flowing through the facility. Yada, yada, yada. Chaos broke out. Play it.
Senator from here in the state of Georgia, Senator Colton Moore, representing Northwest Georgia.
Maybe Fannie Willis is in there somewhere. Knock, knock. Who's there?
Appreciate you knowing.
Oh, a nice little secret room for illegal immigrants. Oh, what are you doing here? Oh, I'm a state rep.
Transporting anybody anywhere?
Yeah, we're all.
Are you trafficking people?
Okay, where do they need to be?
All over the place.
Where are they coming from?
As in, like, country of origin and stuff like that. Also all over the place.
NGO running it.
Why? Can I ask you why you're asking these questions?
Young guy, millennial, probably Generation Z, whatever they want to call themselves.
Just want to make sure.
Oh,
everything's above board here.
Yeah, so these are just
oblivious to what's going on.
Documented travelers getting released from ICE.
Oh, they're documented travelers. That's what you should call them now. Documented travelers.
So your
Total abuse of vulnerable people.
Yeah.
Is that a non-government organization? What is that?
Yeah.
I wonder how much these NGOs are actually getting paid by Soros or whatever.
I'm a volunteer. I mean,
federal government for doing this, because you think that maybe like per per illegal immigrant or whatever, they're getting paid, an X amount.
All right. Yeah. Sounds good, man. Care if we? Yeah. Care if I come in?
Unfortunately, the only thing you can do is document it.
You can stand right there. I don't know you I don't know you very well either. So
yeah, just let me.
Okay. When you try to change the conversation from football to the Pentagon losing $6.5 trillion, and all you get is that fluoride stare. Yep. Say it again, Dexter. Women deserve equal jail time for false rape allegations as the man if he was found guilty for that allegation. Yep. Three people destroyed an entire Target and ran off with millions of dollars of merchandise. 3? A third man was sentenced in the August 2020 arson at Target headquarters. Well, this was the Target headquarters, so there were only 3 people, but I think he's trying to deflect and say that they're not prosecuting a bunch of these Black Lives Matters protesters who burned down the Target. I mean, did they burn it down? They didn't burn it down, but they looted it. They stole the entire catalog of the store. Okay, when they stopped the elections, we have a meme here with all the numbers from each state. And it looks like Trump is up everywhere. Yep. Yeah, that's exactly what I remember, kind of around 10 to 12 o'clock that night. And then I took a nap and I woke up around 3 or 4 in the morning, and suddenly the votes had like changed dramatically. And I was like, this doesn't seem right. It seemed off. Oh yeah, and then here's the electoral vote map showing that Trump gets 410, Biden gets 128. I can't vouch for that, but I can vouch for this. That is consistent with everything that I saw, especially in Wisconsin here, because it was close, but Trump was ahead the entire night. Definitely a scumbag. Who thinks Senator Dick Durbin blocked the release of the Epstein flight logs because his name was on them? I do. Benny Johnson. Breaking. White House refuses to hand over transcript of Biden's speech demanding Ukraine fire prosecutor Viktor Shokin. Interesting. Oh, yeah. Not suspicious whatsoever. If Trump had done this, they'd impeach him over it. They'd impeach him for sneezing, just like they'd impeach all of us. I mean, you look at what they've done to me. They just charged me with 131 felonies and then dismissed them within minutes after they accused me of criticizing Allison Greenfield's judicial misconduct. And they took my phone without a search warrant. I mean, what do they want me to do? Sue them? I will, but I don't want to. But I have to. I mean, they put you in these precarious positions where you have really no defenses, and especially it's dangerous when you do this to just average, everyday people like me versus President Trump. But what you're seeing with President Trump is basically analogous with everything that they're doing to the rest of us. I'm sure if Paul Spezzola lived in a blue territory, if he lived in New York City or Minneapolis or even San Francisco, maybe not San Francisco, but you know, they'd go after him with the same kind of vigor. Rules for thee, not for me. This is coming from the same people who are outraged over Donald Trump and his tax returns. Oh no, what did I do? Tim Young. I know Tim Young. He runs yeah, he's a comedian. Doesn't he run a podcast or a stream? Anyways. Accurate. Meme. Pedo Joe. Poop my pants. Babble nonsense. Eat ice cream. Destroy the country. Over and over and over again. DuckTales. Uncle Scrooge. Huey, Dewey, and Louie were his nephews. Politicians on their way to tell us they need more taxes to solve the problems they created. Skiing and money. Incredible. Gavin Newsom discusses witnessing a criminal walk out of a store without paying. He asks why he has to pay while others can walk out without paying, then gets mad at the cashier for saying it's because of the governor. Zero self-awareness.
No, I said it's just not true. And I said we have the 10th toughest, $950, the 10th toughest in America. She doesn't even know what I was talking about. By the way, it's the 10th toughest in America. Look it up. No one gives a damn about that. And I said, it's just not true. There's still stop. They said, well, we don't stop.
It's hard to hear.
And then she looks at me twice, and then she freaks out. She calls everyone over, wants to take photos. I'm like, no, I'm not taking a photo. We're having a conversation. Where's your manager? How are you blaming the governor? And it was, $380 later. And I was like, why am I spending $380? Everyone can walk the hell right out.
Well, not fair. Not fair. Yeah.
It's my target. She triggered me. Sorry.
I'm gonna go ahead and get us started. I know that Mayor Gloria and Mayor Breed are still logging on, so
hopefully all the reporters weren't on for that.
We've got about 30 folks on, so we're gonna go ahead and get started here. I know that.
All right, enough of that. This is the future that the World Economic Forum, Klaus Schwab, John Kerry, Bill Gates, and the globalists want for you. They are trying to destroy our existing food supply system and replace it with their vision. If they control the food supply, they control everything. The future. Victoria Nuland speaks from Kiev.
And the resolve about 2024 and its absolute strategic importance for Ukraine.
Looks pretty cold.
Leave more confident that
seems like everything is failing on me because I can barely hear this.
Strengthens
you just hear like little.
Mr. Putin's going to get some nice surprises on the battlefield, and that Ukraine will make some.
Don't know what she said, but I was kind of interested in actually hearing what she said and then commenting on it live. It's interesting, though, that she actually went to Kiev and she's doing this impromptu press conference. She looks out of place. Her hair is totally grayed. My hair is full. I got a little bit of a receding hairline here, but that's about it. It's normal. Victoria Nuland is looks like an old woman here. First Chicago airport, then Boston, and now Atlanta. Which airport will be next? Where'd they go when all the airports are full? I wonder if I refresh the tab if I can hear it. Come on. Nope. Oh, this is the same. Sorry, this is the same one. Got it. Okay. Okay, this Rocket Mortgage free loans. So there was some chatter about how Rocket Mortgage was giving interest-free loans to Jews, and people went nuts about it. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. Why would the CDC add COVID vaccines to the childhood vaccination schedule while other countries are banning COVID shots for people aged 30 and younger? Good point. Enemies of the people. At the top, we have Queen Elizabeth, the Windsors, Rockefellers, Rothschilds, Vatican. We got Warren Buffett here. We got George Soros. We got Henry Kissinger, Bill Gates, Bloomberg, Michael Bloomberg, Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg. I'm surprised we don't have Elon Musk up here. I mean, they've kind of amended these conspiracy theory memes to exclude Elon Musk. Their agenda, global digital currency. Well, that's definitely true. One world government, population control, and reduction. Cost of the problem. I love how they put George Floyd here. Riots and lawlessness, anarchy and chaos, economic crash, pandemic, distancing, vaccine ID, microchip, New World Order, cashless system. All right, so they're kind of doing the same thing in Illinois that they're doing in Minnesota, which is they're deploying these automated speed cameras to catch people speeding and then generate a ticket. I actually just heard from someone who got one of these. They were $50 in Minnesota, and they were pissed. Oh, no, never mind. I'm such an idiot. It's because I can't hear anything. I gotta unmute this tab as well. I'm like the worst
The
streamer
bill's
in the world.
sponsor, Representative Justin Slaughter, says the bill was meant to start a conversation to see if the state could reduce the number of offenses you can be pulled over
morons who are
for.
speeding.
The lawmakers behind these kinds of pushes are concerned these
I think,
traffic
like, if you're
stops
speeding,
are
you
being
might be
used as a
going 5
reason to
miles
stop
over
and
the
search
speed
cars
limit,
for
but
other evidence of
there
more
are
serious
people who,
crimes.
especially
In a
young
statement,
people who
Slaughter
go
said,
way too
quote,
fast
for
and
decades,
probably
Illinois
do
has
need
wrestled
tickets
with the
and you get
challenge of
pulled
racial
over.
bias in traffic stops and the disparate outcomes that are too
I
often
mean,
the result.
it's a good way to mitigate crashes, especially with young people. I think what they're trying to do is kind of like bring us into this automated transportation system eventually, where we'll just be able to Uber a vehicle and it'll drive us using like Tesla AI or whatever, self-driving to wherever we need to go, whether that's you know, to our job, to the store, grocery store, you know, to school. Kids will just be able to Uber. What if I do this? A woke Australian family put up a sign that says the land belongs to its traditional owners, the Wurundjeri. But when they showed up, they wouldn't let them in.
We saw that sign there. We wouldn't ask only for the sign. Oh, yeah, it's a sign. It's a sign there. I don't know who put it up there, so. Oh, well, we'll just leave in the back.
Oh, now I can hear.
There's some local rabbits we can hunt down and
Come on, come on.
If you like rabbit, we can share.
Get some witches drop for them.
Perfect.
We can wait. We'll have a big crockery. We'll set up and we'll sing.
I don't know what to do. Oh, we could just set a fire like that.
Why weren't they getting their land back? I didn't
Yeah, why couldn't they come in?
This so wasn't going as well as I expected.
We've got a dot painting here if you want one to hang up. A what? A dot painting?
Yeah, we've got some paintings for you.
Yeah.
We can give you.
We thought we'd come get some hot water. We want to make
Yeah,
a
why wouldn't they let them in?
Tea, but I don't know about the rest of it, hey? Like.
Oh, that's too bad. I recently discovered something very weird. Bill Gates invested a whopping $55 million in BioNTech that made the Pfizer mRNA injection. You will never believe the date that this happened. Is this a coincidence? Where's the date? 4th September 2019. Wow, I can't believe it was that long ago that COVID was discovered. It just seems like ages ago. But it also seems like it just happened yesterday. Wow, time has just flown by. November 2019. So 2 months before your boy Bill Gates puts in 55 mil. Got it. He's the Windows guy. Breaking. See the censored Joe Rogan, Alex Jones interview. Watch and spread. 2 hours, a little bit too long to play, but can unmute the tab here.
Son,
There's no more gaseous fireballs and then contracting down to nothing, down to the smallest fucking possible particle.
I don't. Maybe is this recent? Okay, so this like just got released, or is this old? I don't know. Okay, so this is new, I guess.
A whole new universe all over again.
Oh wow. They're trolling Alex with this intro here.
InfoWars, the most banned network in the world.
All right.
That's how I've always done everything. If I start doing something and it seems like, oh, I can get better at this. Like this is
So you enjoyed it, that's why you did it.
Yeah, it's fun.
Okay, so it's a 2-hour interview. And Joe and Alex Jones are good friends. So they should have some chemistry. I mean, it's going to be cringe at times because they're just going to be in constant agreement about everything. It's amazing that 30% of our population still support him. I don't know. I think that's fake. I don't think 30% support Pedo Joe. 2020 campaign, Biden, I promise to reverse all of Trump's border security policies. Goes on, 2024. Why won't Republicans help me secure the border? Here's another sudden and unexpected tweet. The Daily Show writer Tom Johnson dies unexpectedly at 55. His wife, Rosie Baki, told The Hollywood Reporter that he died peacefully and unexpectedly at his Los Angeles home on January 14th due to a cardiac issue. Unmute. Paul Joseph Watson tweeted, an acid attack in London that left 9 people injured has prompted a huge manhunt, although some are asking why the police haven't released a description of the suspect. Local tweet from KSTP, it's an ABC affiliate. A new report says Israeli-made Pegasus spyware was used in Jordan to hack the cell phones of nearly 36 people, including journalists, lawyers, and human rights activists. The digital rights group Access Now said the hacking was spyware, and it goes on. This is widely known, but this is kind of like slightly new information about Pegasus somehow. Jimmy Dore put out a meme in response to a Charlie Kirk tweet. So Mark Zuckerberg got up. This is interesting. I got to unmute this.
Would you like to apologize for what you've done to these good people?
He got up in front of this committee and he apologized for being a pedo.
And this is why we invested so much and are going to continue
Zuckerberg's a pedo.
To make sure that no one has to go through the types of things that your families have had to suffer.
You know, why, Mr. Zuckerberg, why should your company not be sued for this? Why is it that you can claim, you hide behind a liability shield, you can't be held accountable? Shouldn't you be held accountable personally? Will you take personal responsibility?
Senator.
So in that moment,
wow,
Emily and Kaylee, when you look at the legal side of this, that's what every attorney would tell you not to do. But he did it.
Yeah.
He stood up and he apologized. And now you hear the hearing goes on.
They're going to congratulate pedo Zuckerberg for being a pedo. Yeah, of course.
Talks about what the adjudication might look like.
On March 15, 2020, pedo Zuckerberg privately contacted Fauci saying, I also wanted to share a few details of ways we could help you get our message out. Pedo Zuckerberg then censored scientists, professors, doctors, nurses, and citizens from criticizing Fauci's recommendations regarding lockdowns, school closures, and COVID mandates, and silenced all criticism of experimental mRNA vaccines. Facebook classified mRNA vaccine injuries as malinformation, meaning information that is likely true but still should be censored to prevent doubts about the experimental mRNA vaccines. Numerous Facebook mRNA vaccine injury support groups with hundreds of thousands of members were banned. I do remember that.
They're here. You're on national television.
Here's BB McGuire, and she said, my Facebook account was suspended because I was posting about HCQ and CSAM. Okay. She's saying her Facebook account was suspended and that in itself is evil. It's all okay, folks, as long as the shill got enough money for doing it. Examples should be made of people like Fauci and pedo Zuckerberg. Wow, my phone is blowing up right now. I made it on Jimmy Kimmel last night. Okay, this person predicted that the Super Bowl will be rigged, just like our elections. It'll be Kansas City and the 49ers. Kansas City will illegally win. When the game is over, Travis Kelce will propose to Taylor Swift, which is a left psyop, on the field for the entire nation to witness. You watch. Seems reasonable at this point, but the prediction alone, and it does have a date of January 21st, 2024, and the Chiefs won and the 49ers won, so great. I'm glad that, everybody's congratulating her. Well, what's interesting, though, about this is the Taylor Swift thing. Yeah, I got to get in front of that, because they're going to try and use Taylor Swift for votes. Richie Greenberg. Green Boy tweets, inside the ransacked and looted Castro Walgreens. Oh, I want to go shopping there. Wow. Totally normal. Totally normal. Here's a video of people looting presumably the same store. They're dropping stuff as they run out. I love how no one does anything. They're just like, whatever. Whatever. Not like the cops are going to help. They'll probably try and arrest you for calling them to come and try and arrest them. Stu Peters, Ukrainian dropping bombs on the Montel Williams show.
Dissent, and I have a comment and a question.
Make it very quick because we got to go.
First of
Make
all,
it
I have the
real
greatest
quickly.
sympathy for all innocent people who die in war, but the Jewish experience is not unique. I happen to be of Ukrainian descent, and 7 million of my people were murdered, and a disproportionate number of the perpetrators of these crimes in the Ukrainian famine happened to be Jews. Trotsky,
Okay.
Beria, Dzerzhinsky,
So,
and
well, kind of anti-Semitic, yeah.
reparations for my murdered relatives.
Okay, that's also another issue. We'll take a break and we'll answer when we come back. We'll take a break.
I have a comment.
Well, let's go to break. Let's go to break. Illuminati bot, just a reminder. Ghislaine Maxwell's sister is on the board of WEF. Father Robert was apparently a triple agent for MI6, Mossad, and the CIA. Robert's corpse was found floating in the Atlantic in 91. Isabel S. Maxwell. Yemeni armed forces threaten to cut Red Sea internet cable if the US UK keep bombing their airports.
Ways connecting Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. Yemen's Houthis have threatened to cut the Red Sea underground fiber optic cable if the US and UK launch another attack on Yemeni airports.
Interesting. So, where's the protection? Where's the defense for these cables? I mean, they're just out in the open. If you have the right equipment, all you need to do is just dive down, right? And then just cut it.
This is a huge threat, as this cable is the lifeblood.
I mean, you could probably just hit it with a couple of, I don't know,
of communication pathways connecting Europe.
You just bomb it, right? It would just totally disconnect, hemorrhage the entire connection.
Europe, Africa, and the Middle East. The severance of these cables poses a serious threat to geopolitical stability, global financial markets, and cybersecurity.
I guess you would need a submarine or something to go down that far. I don't know.
More than 99% of the world's international internet traffic and more than 80% of international telephone communication traffic passes through submarine fiber optic cables. Yemen's Houthis have threatened to cut the Red Sea.
What's up with this person? I mean, like, it sounds like a woman, kind of looks like a woman. I don't know, but they're wearing a tie. What's going on here? I mean, I'm seeing more and more of this where, like, women are wearing ties and male suit coats, and trying to look like men for some reason, and it's very unbecoming, as my mom would say. What the hell's going on here? I have no words. Okay, how to remove a squatter in 5 minutes. I don't know what they're doing, but it looks like they're up to something. Okay, so they're breaking in. They got crowbars. What are they gonna do? It's a nice house. Okay, so they're just gonna go and harass them, get them out. Okay. They're just throwing their shit out. Alright. Nothing special. Breaking. New York Community Bank stock. The bank that acquired the collapsed Signature Bank falls 40% after earnings. The bank announced that they will be cutting their dividend by 70% to meet regulatory requirements. They also report a fourth quarter loss of $260 million, while expectations were for a gain of that size. This comes just a few weeks before the Fed's emergency loan program is set to expire. Some small banks are still feeling the pain. Wow. Falls 40%. Right here. Plane crash. Hello. See you later. Wouldn't want to be ya. Matt Wallace. Here's some more French protest imagery. Let's unmute this badass. Unmute. Oh, I think we saw this already. Yeah, they're putting manure on the highway here. So I want to go back to this Victoria Newland clip because I didn't have audio. And of course, it's going to be hard to find here. Hold on.
I have to say that I leave Kyiv tonight more.
All right, so first of all, she says, I leave Kyiv tonight. It's not pronounced Kyiv, Victoria Newland. It's pronounced Kiev, all right? I realize that she's like a Ukrainian Jew or whatever. And she's been assimilated into the U.S. and she's like, you know, the deputy head of state, whatever her title is. And she feels like she's the president of Ukraine. She gets to choose, you know, how it's run, how it's managed, how this war goes. But, I mean, these are just basic elementary things that she just does not have a handle on. I don't know why they call it Kyiv. Although, you know, my last name, Ferdine, which is pronounced Ferdine, when I've heard, it's from my mother. I have my mother's last name. I've actually heard people from Sweden with my last name, presumably I'm potentially related to them, and they say their last name is Fredin. So, but whatever.
About the unity and the resolve, about 2024 and its absolute strategic importance for Ukraine.
Oh, yeah?
I also leave more confident that even as Ukraine...
So she needs some food. You can see she's almost like going into some shock because she hasn't eaten or had, you know, her blood sugar checked.
Strengthens its defenses. Mr. Putin's going to get some nice surprises.
Mr. Putin. So she doesn't title President Putin properly.
On the battlefield, and that Ukraine will make some...
Oh, on the battlefield. So why isn't she out on the battlefield if she wants this war so badly?
Very strong success this year.
Why does she feel like she's at war with
leave...
Vladimir Putin, by the way? How much money has been wasted in this debacle? How many lives, more importantly, have been lost and injured and maimed? I mean, it's unreal. And who is she meeting with? Like, who is she meeting with during this jaunt to Kiev? Obviously Zelensky, but who else? Maybe there were a couple billionaires there. I don't know. Who did she bring with her? Did she bring Jake Sullivan with her? National Security Advisor to President Biden.
About the unity and the resolve, about 2024 and its absolute strategic importance for Ukraine.
2024.
I also leave more
strategic importance.
That even as Ukraine strengthens its defenses, Mr. Putin's going to get some nice surprises on the battlefield.
Oh my God. Nice surprises on the battlefield. This fucking warhawk. What a fucking cunt. Are you kidding me? She is bragging about killing people in war, in combat. It's horrible.
Ukraine will make some very strong success this year.
Fuck her.
I have to say that I leave...
Okay, that's it. That's all I got. What is it, 10:30 here? Thank you for tuning in. Let's see. Do we have anything else? Do we have any comments to make? By the way, I do. If anybody wants to call in quickly, I have the Twitter Spaces open. I have Skype open. Ronan was talking about being here at 3 a.m. Got it. It's kind of late for you, bro. Please follow, like the video if you can. I'm going to get on with my day. Thank you very much. Peace out.
Thanks for watching Command HQ with Brooke and Agent X.